Hi everyone! Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another Read Aloud. Today I am going to be reading a book from a series, and a series, you know, is when there's many books that have the same characters. Harry Potter is the series, so they have lots of books. This series is a classic, loved by all, and it's super funny. And it's a character I love from childhood. I remember reading these books as I was a kid, and they're so funny. So, Amelia Bedelia. Okay, our book for today. I will remove that thing, but you guys, hey dude, you're awesome, okay? So today we'll be reading Good Work, Amelia Bedelia by Peggy Parrish. And the illustrator is Lynn Sweat. So you can see right here, it's Amelia Bedelia's 40th birthday. And that was whenever this book was published, which I could check the dates here. Oh, the text copyright was 1976. So actually more like 50 years. Okay. So I love funny stories. And I think everyone loves funny stories. I don't think I've ever met a person who is like, oh, that book was funny and I didn't like it. Like, funny books are just, they make us laugh. They bring a smile to our face. And Amelia Bedelia will definitely do that. Now, before I start reading, I do need to tell you one thing. This is bread. And in this story, Amelia Bedelia will bake bread. And so I need to give you some of this background information. Bread rises. So if you look at this, this is before and this is after. If you're like making bread, you make the dough and you have to let it sit, and it's called proofing, and it gets a little bigger. Then you punch it down. That's what this person's doing here. Okay? That's just some information you need to hold in your head for when we read this book. Now, let me get my tools. Post-it notes. Something to write with. And my reading notebook. Okay, I have everything I need, and I'm ready to get started. Good work, Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia, called Mr. Rogers. Is the coffee ready? Coming right up, said Amelia Bedelia. She poured a cup of coffee. She took it into the dining room. Very quickly, Amelia, I skipped a page, and I did this the first time I read it too. Sorry. There, said Amelia Bedelia. Would you like something more? Yes, said Mr. Rogers. Toast and an egg. Fine, said Amelia Bedelia. She went into the kitchen. Very quickly, Amelia Bedelia was back. Mr. Rogers picked up the egg and he broke it over his toast. Confound it, Amelia Bedelia, he said. I didn't say a raw egg. Oops. But you didn't say cook it, said Amelia Bedelia. Mr. Rogers threw down his napkin. Oh, go fly a kite, he said. Amelia Bedelia looked surprised. All right, if you say so. I'm going to pause there for a minute. Right here, this part of the text. Oh, go fly a kite, he said. What does he really mean when he says go fly a kite? Do you think he really means go outside and fly a kite? By the look of his facial expressions and kind of what's happening here, I don't think he's telling Amelia Bedelia to go outside and play in the lawn. This is an expression, oh, go fly a kite. It's kind of like, oh, get out of here, I'm frustrated. But something we'll learn about Amelia Bedelia, she doesn't know expressions. Soon, Amelia Bedelia was out in a field. She had a kite. Now, that was nice of Mr. Rogers, she said. I do love to fly kites, but I better get back. Mrs. Rogers might need me. Sure enough, Mrs. Rogers was calling Amelia Bedelia. "Here I am," said Amelia Bedelia. "There's a lot to do," said Mrs. Rogers. "Do you know how to make bread?" "I make a good cornbread," said Amelia Bedelia. "No, I want white bread," said Mrs. Rogers. "You are a good cook. Just do what the recipe says." "All right," said Amelia Bedelia. "Here's a list of other things I want you to do," said Mrs. Rogers. "I will be out until dinner time." "Don't worry," said Amelia Bedelia. "I'll get everything done." Mrs. Rogers left. "I'll start with the bread," said Amelia Bedelia. She read the recipe. "Do tell," she said. "I never knew bread did magic things." Amelia Bedelia quickly got everything she needed. Excuse me, I messed that up. Let me reread. Amelia Bedelia got everything she needed. Quickly, she mixed the dough. All right. One thing readers do as they're going along is they pause and they ask questions, right? And actually, a good thing to do is write those down on the sticky notes. That's why we have these tools. So I have a question here where Amelia Bedelia says, "I never knew bread did magic things." What? I guess I didn't either. So my question, which I mark with a Q or a question mark? I'm going to put a question mark. So I code. I'm going to write, what kind of magic can bread do? And like, what does this mean? Okay, so readers ask themselves questions, they track some stuff, and I'm just going to keep it right here on this page. That's a safe place to keep questions, right when they pop into your head. Amelia Bedelia set the pan on the table. "Now," she said, "you're supposed to rise. This I've got to see." Amelia Bedelia sat down to watch, but nothing happened. "Maybe you don't like to be watched. I'll come back," said Amelia Bedelia. Remember, she's sitting, she's watching it rise, she's waiting for it to rise, you know? Rise. Let's see. Amelia Bedelia got her list. Clean out the ashes in the parlor fireplace. Fill the wood box. Amelia Bedelia went into the parlor. She cleaned out the ashes, and Amelia Bedelia filled the wood box. I'm wondering if they should have been more specific. Clean out the ashes and fill the wood box with wood, right? Amelia Bedelia is a little confused. She does this. It's so silly. Whoop. Take my note. "That's done," said Amelia Bedelia. "What's next?" She read, "Pot the window box plants. Put pots in the parlor." Amelia Bedelia went outside. She counted the plants. Then she went into the kitchen. "My goodness," she said. "I need every pot for this." So she took them all. Amelia Bedelia potted those plants, and she took them inside. Now, when you and I read this, we might think, if we're asked to pot plants, we put them in flower pots, right? But the word pot is a special kind of word called a homonym. That's what my note said. A homonym is a word that has multiple meanings and it's spelled the same way. So pot, when we think about a flower pot or a kitchen pot, the word pot is spelled the same way, but it has two different meanings. Some other words like that are, can you think of any? The word fair, right? So to be fair, if something is, we're treating equally, it's fair. Or you can go to the fair with like the Ferris wheel and all that stuff. So that's fair, F-A-I-R, and fair. Same spelling, different meanings. Another word is bow. So you think of a hair bow or a bow tie, right? Those are different, but kind of the same bow shape. But then there's also a bow, like a bow and arrow, right? So those are two very different things. That's called a homonym. Words are amazing. I'm a word nerd. Okay, now I better tend to that bread, said Amelia Bedelia. She went into the kitchen, but the bread still sat on the table. Now look here, she said. You are supposed to rise. Then I'm supposed to punch you down. How can I punch you down if you don't rise? Amelia Bedelia sat down to think. Maybe the pan is too heavy, she said. I better help it rise. Amelia Bedelia got some string. Amelia Bedelia got some string. She worked for a bit, and that bread began to rise. That should be high enough, said Amelia Bedelia. I'll just let you stay here a while. So if we go back to our question, what kind of magic can bread do? What does this mean? She's thinking the bread is going to float and like fly, right? So she's thinking, oh, this is going to do magic. We have answered our question from before. That's why it's important to keep track of them. Amelia Bedelia picked up her list. Make a sponge cake. Amelia Bedelia read that again. I know a lot about cakes, she said, and I never heard of that. But if she wants a sponge cake, I'll make her a sponge cake. As we read stories and we get to know characters, we start tracking the kind of things they do, and that helps us to make predictions. So I know that Amelia Bedelia just like messes up everything, right? She means so well, but she makes a lot of mistakes. And I'm thinking sponge cake, she's going to put actual sponges in it. You can see this illustration here. That's helping my prediction. Amelia Bedelia put a little of this and some of that into a bowl. She mixed and mixed. Now for the sponge, she said. Amelia Bedelia got a sponge. She snipped it into small pieces. There, she said. Into the cake you go. So I was right. She just put a sponge in a cake. Gross. Soon the sponge cake was baking. I don't think Mr. Rogers will like this cake, said Amelia Bedelia. I'll make my kind of cake too. He does love butterscotch icing. So Amelia Bedelia baked another cake. There now, she said. I'll surprise him. Amelia Bedelia put the butterscotch cake in the cupboard. She put the sponge cake on the shelf. My, this is a busy day, said Amelia Bedelia. Let's see what's next. Call ALOUD. Ask him to patch the front door screen. Amelia Bedelia shook her head. ALOUD can't patch anything, she said. I better do it myself. She got what she needed. So I can see, what do you think she's going to do? They asked her to patch the door. And Amelia Bedelia patched that screen. She put clothing patches on it. Ay. Amelia Bedelia. Okay. Amelia Bedelia looked at the time. Oh, she said, I better get dinner started. Let me see what she wants. She read the list. A chicken dinner will be fine. Amelia Bedelia shook her head. What will she think of next? She said. Well, that won't take long to fix. Amelia Bedelia got everything ready. She set the table. Then she sat down to rest. Okay, that's where we're going to pause because this video is going to be a two-parter. But I do want you to make a prediction before you watch the next video. I want you to think, how is Amelia Bedelia going to interpret a chicken dinner? When I think of a chicken dinner, I think of like eating chicken for dinner, right? Cooked chicken, chicken breast, chicken legs, I don't know. But because we know some things about Amelia Bedelia, we know that she might make a mistake. She might mess it up. She might interpret it the wrong way. So before you move on to the next video, I want you to, in your writer's notebook maybe, on a sticky note, or in the comments of this video, make a little prediction. What do you think she might do to create a chicken dinner? Okay? All right. Then I check for the next video for the rest of the book. Thanks for listening, you guys.